the Titans, the division is ours. I don't care what Houston did yesterday. They're going to go get their Letterman jackets again. The Indianapolis Colts are 2-6 against the Titans since Pat McAfee came up here and did his wrestling announcement. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, they haven't had back-to-back winning seasons since I was a senior in high school.
What's up, Titans fans, and welcome to another episode of Titans Fan Battle Podcast, brought to you by the Fan Battle Sports Network. And tonight's main topics are going to be roster moves, or roster cutdowns, and a look towards the season, and a little bit of good news also. I know on the show it said special guest Courtlandt Griffin. He's running a little bit late. He might not even make it on the show. So that's cool. It's cool though. We're cool, Courtlandt. You know, he's been on many times, so it's all good. But I am your host, Maximus Titan fan, and as always, I got my co-host Tyler with me. Say what's up, Tyler.
Yes, sir. What's up, y'all? It's roster cut eve. We can finally put all this to rest tomorrow. It's almost there. Now you get to hear our predictions that mean absolutely nothing. Let's get into it, man.
That's right. And the Titans actually made it kind of easier on us, if we're being honest, since they let go of a couple people today and over the weekend. I think it was 12 total, but Jonathan Ward, Galvin Holmes, Elise Mack, Justin Rigg, Zach Johnson, Jimmy Murray, Zach Cloud, Chris Jackson, AJ Moore, Alonzo Davis, Josh Thompson. And of course, all the kickers.
Thankfully.
So at the moment, the Titans have no kickers. But you know, I made a joke on Twitter today that, or maybe it was yesterday when they released Badgley. I can't remember, but I said, "Hey, it's all right. It's better than what we had." Now we have better than what we had, which is pretty accurate. By the way, at the end of the roster predictions, I'm going to throw out a little prediction of who we get and how we get them. So we're going to start off with the easy stuff and just move on quickly through that stuff because it's easy and we all know the answers. Quarterback, we're keeping 3. By the way, this isn't a depth chart, so don't hold us to, you know, this guy, this guy, this guy. It's not that. It's no special order. We're just saying quarterbacks, we're keeping 3. We all know who's starting there. Running backs, we're keeping 3. We all know who's starting there. Everybody should know who running back number 2 is by now. If you don't, you should be ashamed to call yourself a Titans fan.
You haven't been watching the preseason at all.
Yeah, no kidding. Or keeping up with news or anything. I've been living under a rock. And honestly, I think running back 3 is a lock. Julius Chestnut. I'm pretty sure anybody who watched the preseason got that. So that's pretty easy. All right. And are we in agreement? I'm pretty sure we're in agreement there, right?
I have no arguments with that whatsoever. Haskins is done. He's on IR. Patrick is I mean, he looked decent as a power back, but he's not going to make the roster. There's too many other spots that we have needs for. So maybe he's a practice squad guy. I don't even know if he's practice squad eligible, but I think so. And
that's what I was going to say.
I would imagine he's going to go and be a practice squad guy with some of the other guys we're about to talk about.
Yeah. So, tight end. First 3, I think, are locks. Pretty easy. Chigazim. I think that's how you say his name, Chigazim.
Chig.
Yeah, Chig Okonkwo. Trayvon Wesco. Yeah, it's pretty rough. Josh Wiley. And this is where we're going to get to talk a little bit, but I'm pretty sure my boy's going to agree with me here because he's the one who turned me on to him. But Thomas Odukoye.
Yes, sir.
The man, the myth, the legend. Honestly, even after they turned me on to him, I was still kind of leaning. It was like a toss up between him and Elise Mack. But yeah, Elise got dropped, so that made it pretty easy for me.
Yep.
To choose Thomas Odukoye. So that pretty much wraps up our quarterback, running back, tight end. It's all the easy stuff.
I would go even as far to say on tight end, though, that we're going to see more of Odukoye this year than we do Wiley. I really do think so. So, Courtland, he's about to join in. Let's go. All right.
What's up, fellas?
What's up, dude?
How you doing, dog?
Oh, man, just I had to fight through Nashville traffic to get to the show, and I'm so sorry that I'm late, guys. It's not like me, so I apologize to the audience as well.
Oh no, dude, you're fine, man. Honestly, yeah, I have never experienced traffic like I experienced Friday night after that game. That was amazing. It took.
Have I missed? What did I miss? I'm sorry, guys. Like, what did I miss?
Oh no, basically we did all the easy stuff, man. We just went. We're doing roster predictions, and we just did quarterback, running back, and tight end.
So, pretty set.
I guess I can run through mine really quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Throw it out there. For quarterbacks, right now, I got Tannehill and Will. I mean, that's a pretty, of course, kind of that's a given. I still think personally that it's, even though Malik is going to be number 2, I still think it's a 2B, 2A, 2B thing with those two. And that's just personally because Mike Vrabel has not named a solidified backup.
Exactly. I ain't going to say nothing until Vrabel says it. I ain't going to believe it.
He hasn't said, like, this guy's going to be the backup, this guy's going to be third string, and he has that kind of play. We kind of know how he rolls. Of course, number 3, like the running backs, Derrick Henry, Julius Chestnut, Tajay Spears, in no specific order. We know King Henry is going to be the starter. I think Tajay is number 2, Julius Chestnut's number 3. But I mean, Julius Chestnut to me, like Hassan Haskins hit the IR with the upper body injury.
Right.
That was one of the moves that they made, and so. Again, we'll see. I know PK said that he has Jonathan Ward making the he had Jonathan Ward making the roster. He got cut.
Yeah, so, he was one of the
cutters. Shout out to Paul. Love that guy. So, those are my 3. And then tight end, who's you guys' name?
Chig, obviously, Trayvon, Josh Wiley, and Thomas Odukoye.
Those are my 4. So
I was gonna say we all agree on the first.
I think Wiley still gives you. I think receiving the ball from Ryan Tannehill, right? And I know this is going to sound crazy. Receiving the ball from a quarterback who's seasoned and knows how to throw with touch and things of that nature versus a guy who's still kind of learning how to throw with touch is 2 totally different things. I don't think you see the issues that Josh Wiley had in the preseason. On the day-to-day basis, right? Week in, week out. He may have a couple of drops. He may have a turnover, but he's a rookie. You kind of expect that. Chig is, of course, number 1. Trayvon is going to be the tight end 2. I think he's going to be your blocker, your main blocking tight end. And I think Thomas Odukoye on like those 3 tight end sets where we need 2 yards, short yard situation. That guy's going to be in the game. Josh Wiley is going to be the wrinkle where you may get the same look, but now you're passing the ball. And I just hope that Tim Kelly kind of mixes it up so that teams can't read and pick that up. But yeah, those are my 4. So,
well, you know how. Oh, go ahead, Tyler.
Right before you got on, I was saying, like, I think we're going to see more of Odukoye than we do of Josh Wiley this year. But also, I also have kind of a hot take here. I think he's going to go in, slide into that blocking spot where Trayvon Wesco kind of slides down the depth chart a little bit as we go through the season. Not in the
that's
beginning,
fair.
but also he's probably going to be the fullback tight end.
Dang it!
So we're not going to see. I don't think we don't have a fullback. So and we talk about Tim Kelly loving his tight ends. Well, he's going to probably be the one that slides into fullback more than anybody because of that blocking presence that he brings.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Yeah.
And also don't forget Raider. Like I think Raider I think he's already been cut. But Raider could also be kept around on the practice squad just to be that fullback, switch between, drop a guy, pick a guy up kind of guy. And if you notice, the Titans have always we had Torrey Carter, and then we had, I forgot who our fullback was, but we had Torrey Carter, and then I think we had Kerry Blassingame. And then they kind of switched those two guys out depending on their opponent. I think you could see something like that as well.
That's interesting. All right, so moving on to offensive line. Our starting offensive line, I'm pretty sure we're all in agreement on. Dillard, Skoronski, Brewer, Brunskill, Hubbard. Don't have to go over those guys.
Right.
I'm not sure on Hubbard. Vrabel was a little bit questionable on Hubbard today. I think we might see something shake up there, man. I don't know if we're gonna. I don't know.
As of right now, he's the most solid piece you have.
I was gonna say I've thought the same thing, but then I keep going back to, well, who's better? Who do we have that's better? I'm like, I don't know. Let me know.
So I think Andrew Rupcich. I don't know how to. I hate that I don't know. I think it's Rupcich. I want to say it's Rupcich, but Andrew, if you're watching this podcast, bro, like correct me if I'm wrong. Don't beat me up. But I think Andrew, like, he's looked good. He looked good against and getting second team snaps. He also looked good in getting some of those, like, kind of that fringe first team, second team transition snaps where he was going against, some teams rotational pass rushers, right? So I think he's good. Again, Jalen Duncan, I'm still high on that guy. And then we also got Dylan Rayduns came back to practice. So that kind of changes, I would say, one of the guys that I had making the team, but doesn't change it much.
Yeah, Dylan Rayden's coming off of IR kind of threw me for a loop.
Because I forgot all about him.
I was going to say, me too, man. When I first did the first two roster predictions I did or whatever, I wasn't even thinking about Rayden's. And then I was like, oh, yeah, I have to go back and take somebody off of there because Rayden's is going to take up a spot.
And don't forget, Nicholas Petit-Frere is out for 6 weeks due to suspension. So he could easily come back, slot back in at the starting spot. Chris Hubbard, who's not on a multi-year deal. He's on a 1 year kind of, hey, we needed somebody deal, right? Mm-hmm. He could easily be cut, and then you bring in somebody else. So that is also an option. But as of right now, he's your guy. I think, like I said, Rupcich could, depending on how it shakes out between now and next Sunday, right? He could definitely get some first team reps. But I mean, we got to see what Rayduns is going to do, and they evidently really like him because they haven't cut him, right?
Yeah.
You could have cut him.
He's a plug and play guy, so I mean, he can play 4 out of 5 positions on the line. So he's a really one of the best backup linemen you could ask for because of his versatility. So I don't see us cutting him, but also, is he going to be game ready before week 6?
Because if he is. 7? If he's game ready week 1, let's just say hypothetically he's ahead of schedule, right? Which he kind of is for the injury that he had. Daniel Brunskill went out with a knee injury in the last preseason game, right? We don't know the extent of the knee injury yet, so he could very well be available for week 1. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw our guy number 16 out here making one-handed grabs and landed on the very knee that he injured. Yeah. So evidently the training staff is trying to redeem themselves. So that's great. But that was good to see. But if Rayduns is available, then I can see him sliding in at that right guard position. And, and then when Brunskill gets back, he, of course, will reprise his role. So I can see that.
Yeah, that's not a bad list right there.
So they have them picking. I think they have them keeping the same amount I have, which is I have us keeping 10 offensive linemen on the.
Yeah, I think 10.
I think
books. Yeah.
The league average is about 7 to 8.
I have 9.
9 or 10. That's yeah.
That's fair. Because we're a running team still.
I didn't count MPF because he's,
Oh, you didn't count? Okay, yeah. So you have 10, but 9 on the active roster.
Exactly.
Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah. Because I was just looking at teams that have been running, like primarily running teams, and how many they've generally kept. So like San Francisco kept about 8 to 9 guys on their roster. Not Denver. Baltimore kept 9 guys on their roster, right? And then we've always kept like around 7 or 8, give or take 9, depending on the year. We kind of fluctuate up and down. I think this year you got to have 10, just because of the injury concerns and, of course, having guys out for suspension and other things. So, and you're also revamping the offensive line, so you don't have really anything cemented per se. They could, outside of Skoronski, I would say outside of Skoronski, Dillard, and Brewer. Everything from the center to left. And Brewer, right? Everything from the center to
pretty
left.
cemented. If he's healthy, Brunskill's the starter.
Right. So, but we got to see, because he was the swing guy. He was the guy who kind of played center, guard, tackle, for San Francisco. So if let's just say he's okay, not great, he has a bad stretch of games, you could see them rotate him out. Yeah. Right, like that right side of the line. It was the left side of the line was kind of like, we don't know what we have. Now we got that cemented. It seems like we got to get the right side. It's kind of like it switches, and it's kind of crazy. So
yeah, I agree with you, man. So all right, so quick rundown. Other than the starting lineup, who you got?
I got Jordan Roos, like I said, Andrew Rupsick, Justin Murray, Jalen Duncan, MPF.
Go, Tyler.
You got Radens in there?
I didn't. When I wrote this article, I forgot Raiden. I forgot all about him.
So if I had to
switch one out, if I had to switch one out, it would probably be Justin Murray.
Oh.
Even though he's wild, he's wild in the offseason, I just think he's the odd man out because Jalen Duncan is a true tackle. So he's a guy that you need because if one of these tackles go down, you need a guy who can fill in, not a swing guy, not a guard who can play tackle. You need a tackle, and I think that's been our issue. So I think he's safe. So it would be just because Jordan Roos is a great guard, center guy. Rupchich, thank you, Brian. Rupchich is a tackle, right? So he plays a lot of right tackle. Jalen, I think, fits more as a left, and Murray is the only true guard guy on that's on this roster right now that I have. So I would say Radens is probably the guy that I would slot in for him and probably drop Murray to the practice squad if he clears waivers.
The only difference that I have is I would probably let Ruse go and let Radens slide in there. But you do make a good point about him being a guard center combo. And Murray being another tackle. We can only use so many tackles. Right. We need guys that are versatile.
It also helps that he shares a name with one of the greatest, one of the greatest offensive linemen in Titans history. So
I wish he was that good.
Well, and a great point is brought up here again. Put it up again. Versatility is a major asset. That's why I have who I have on my list, and that's Jalen Duncan, Jordan Roos, and Corey Levin.
And Dylan.
Those are
so. Can I just give? I'm just going to give my issue with.
And then Dylan Radens.
With Corey Levin, right? He's been a guy has been given every chance, right, to be the starter. Aaron Brewer, people forget he wasn't a draft pick. I think he was an undrafted free agent. Mm-hmm. He solidified himself as the starting center. Levin, if people I don't know if people forget when Levin first joined the team, he was a late round pick, I think, or undrafted free agent, comes in, right? They moved from tackle to guard. He plays guard and center. Looks great. And he hasn't done anything with it. So to me, you have guys like Justin Murray, and like I said, like Rupchich and all of these guys that have come in. And I don't know what they were doing with these undrafted free agent guys and where they're finding them, but shout out to Rand Carthon, right? And that department
I'll agree with you there,
for getting these guys. But I think Levin is just the odd man out because despite the versatility that he has, Ruse has been better this year. Rupchich has been great. Murray has been better, right? It's just the guys that have been better on this roster, he kind of becomes the odd man out. And that's the rough part about doing these roster predictions. There's so many odd men out that could go to other teams and be starters or rotational guys that you don't want to see leave Nashville, but they're going to have to.
All right. Anything you got to add to that, Tyler, or you want to move on to wide receiver? All right. Let's get on to wide receiver. Because, I got a little bit of a twist here.
Okay.
So, all right. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins, Treylon Burks, Chris Moore, NWI, locks. Kyle Phillips.
Locked.
Lock-ish. I'm going to say lock-ish, okay? And this is why I say lock-ish. I say lock-ish because, first of all, you put him on IR. You go ahead and put him on IR. So you got 4 weeks for him to heal, get fully healed. Don't have to worry about him trying to rush himself back. And you get an extra roster spot. You use that extra roster spot to pick up Colton Dowell. And the last spot on my wide receiver goes to Kyrus Jackson. Obviously, Kyrus has proven himself a lot. And the reason I say lockish again is because if Kyrus Jackson can come in and produce as the returner and then have like Garrar as the backup returner, to me, I'm comfortable with that. And I'm sorry, guys, but I'm just starting to lose a lot of faith in Kyle Phillips' health, man. I mean,
You've held it this long?
I'm still, I personally haven't lost faith in his health because of the play he got injured on.
It was a freak play.
It was one of those freak accident kind of. Again, as a returner, my worst fear was a guy diving at my knees.
Yeah, I was gonna say to
catch the ball. So
it's worth noting that it was Chris Moore missed block that caused that.
Yes.
My bad. Go ahead.
So that play, when you see what it was shoulder pad on knee cap, right? Thank God it was just a sprain, not a tear. So if the training team is doing what they're supposed to be doing. I mean, we just saw Treylon Burks, like I said, going up and grabbing the ball and landing on not 2 feet, 1 foot on the very knee that he had a sleeve on just 2 weeks ago. And Kyle did, shout out to Mike Patton and Teron Davenport. When he was asked about the injury, he said he's able to walk comfortably. So his injury takes about 6 weeks. Treylon Burks' sprain and injury was a 2 on the shorter side to 6 week injury, right? So this guy also has a 3 to 6 week injury window. We know that Kyle has had the shoulder injury and the concussion last year that kept him out most of the year. All I'm saying is I haven't lost faith in his health because of the freak accident. I just hope because he took hits. He caught balls, he took hits. And he got up, popped back up. He put on weight. But you can't help when a guy hits you full force and your knee goes back.
Kyle Phillips is on the 53-man roster if he's healthy. There's absolutely no way that he's not.
I agree with that.
Hunter Renfrow light. I'll take Hunter Renfrow light on my 53-man roster any day.
To me, if Phillips is healthy, which is a big if, then he is the third best receiver on this roster. That's in my opinion.
Takes up a quarter of our screen, man.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So that's what I was.
But Yeah,
Ryan
took mine. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tyler.
Kyle Phillips, the third best receiver on this team when he's healthy, so he's definitely there. I would take him over Chris Moore any day of the week when fully healthy.
And to be honest, Chris Moore would be a lock-ish guy as well, if I'm going to throw that term around.
I only had 4 locks on the roster when I did mine.
The 4 we just talked about.
Right. So DeAndre Hopkins, Treylon Burks, Kyle Phillips, Chris Moore. Yeah. Those are my only 4 locks. And the reason is because Chris Moore routinely this offseason has been open. Like, I don't know if people just don't know number 11's out there, or if he's just that good at running routes where he just loses his defender, or if the secondary is that bad where they're losing him, right? But I thought that was what it was until we got into live games, and he's still wide open.
Still open,
and the one that bounces off of his chest, right, hits him right in the numbers, and it bounces off his chest. If he catches it, he's off to the races. Hasn't proven himself. How can anyone say he's number 3? Because he's literally your number 3 guy per your
third best receiver
per Rob Moore and the guy that we trust named Mike Vrabel, who's been a pretty good judge of talent. Not to go at you, Brian, but yeah, that's how you can say he's number 3. When a guy was getting comparisons to Hunter Renfrow coming out of UCLA, I'll take that 100% of the time.
Like I said, healthy. That's all we need.
Yeah, healthy. So outside of those 4, I had 2 spots that were up for grabs this offseason. And I've kind of held firm on it. The reason I have NWI making this team is because Gavin Holmes and Trayshawn Harrison just aren't proven. They just aren't, right? Like, they're undrafted free agents for a reason. And as good as they've looked and as good as they've been, right, as much as they flashed, I don't trust them. But I do have Kearis Jackson because he's been graded as one of the top 5 players consistently over 3 weeks. Like, and that's as a receiver, not just as a return man, right? Yeah. He's also shown his versatility as a return man. And I can tell you this, I saw it firsthand. He put a mean move, a nasty move on Kevin Byard in like the second day of training camp. And he made Kevin Byard, number 31, touch earth. Sorry, KB. It was nasty. So just to see that, right, to see that and see that guy do that, and I'm not saying that's why he makes the team, because he showed me on the field that he can do it legitimately against other opposing opposition. It's just he's been the most polished out of the undrafted free agent guys that we have, and people forget he was a 1,000-yard receiver on the national championship team. Like, so
and a great kick returner too.
Right, so he had to know how to play. Like, the guy he went as an undrafted free agent after being a 1,000-yard receiver on one of the best teams in the country. That shows you how much talent in the hardest conference. That shows you how good the crop of receivers were this year ahead of him. He fell out of the draft and went, and Tennessee snatched him up. The analytics department, you should be happy about this analytics department.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they did their homework and went and got a guy who could honestly, if Kyle Phillips, who was a 5th round draft pick, right, say he can't never stay healthy, right? I'm okay with him going to another team and not being healthy, right? Just like I was okay with David Long going to another team and not being healthy all season long. I'm okay if you have good talent for 2 or 3 games, right? And if you go and you pull an AJ Brown and you give a team 16 games, I'll be really upset. But sorry, Max. But Kearis Jackson is a guy that you can literally slot in as a slot receiver. And I don't know if you guys are really good on your Titans history, but we had a guy who wasn't highly touted, was a return specialist. It became the greatest receiver in Titans history.
Andre Dyson.
Nope.
Oh, sorry.
Derek Mason.
Derek Mason, yeah.
So, return specialist and became the greatest pair of hands we've ever seen touch the field for us. So, I'm not saying that's going to be Kearis Jackson, but if he's a return specialist and he turns out to be just a solid receiver, I think we did a damn good job.
If Kearis, however you say his name, I think
Kearis
Jackson turns into Mark Mariani, I will be happy.
Oh yeah.
All right. Like if that's the return specialist slot receiver that I would be happy with. He doesn't have to be Derek Mason. If he is, that's amazing. But let Traylon be Derek Mason, you be Mark Mariani, Kiaris, and we'll go from there. We'll be all right. I do think, however, that it's looking. I saw the thing where Kyle Phillips said that he felt good with his brace on, which was kind of disappointing to me. That's kind of telling me like you still feel terrible. So I don't know if that actually is a good thing, but if he starts on IR, I would love to see Colton Dowell get that last receiver spot and see what he could do in an actual NFL game. Not that we even will, but I don't think we see much of Kiaris at wide receiver either, really. I need him to return kicks and punts more than anything.
I do have another guy that deserves to make this roster, I feel like, that could, and nothing against Colton Dowell, but Reggie Roberson had a great offseason.
He's kind of an undersized receiver, isn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, if Kyle Phillips starts on IR, then Reggie would be my next man up because he also offers return ability and he's a blazer. I mean, 4.2 speed you can't train, right? Yeah. So I like that guy. I just, again, this team, it was crazy. The one place where talent was a question was wide receiver, and we went out and grabbed a bunch of no names, and everybody all season long, all I heard was, who's the big name guy? Who's the big name guy? What are they doing? Why aren't they going to get anybody? And they went and grabbed a bunch of no names, and those no names have become names. So again, they did their job. I like what we have, and I'm growing more and more confident, even in the unheralded guys on this roster. And I think that's been a mantra for Mike Vrabel and his tenure. It seems like Trey Avery and all these other guys, Tier Tart, right? Like these guys that are undrafted free agents and unheralded 7th rounders and 6th rounders come in and they become fixtures. I just think it warms my heart as a Titans fan, right? But it also makes my job easier as a reporter when I'm doing roster predictions.
That's the Titans way, though. We've been doing that, I think, since we moved to Nashville, taking small hype guys out of the draft or undrafted free agents and turning them into Titans legends. So
Jarrell Casey,
yes, sir.
All right, man. So on to the defense. Defensive line. Yeah, I know, mine too, man. Yeah. Defensive line's pretty easy, or at least the first 3 are in my eyes. Jeffrey Simmons, Danico Autry, Tier Tart. Yeah. After that, I guess it gets a little fuzzy, but not really for me. Maybe for you guys. But I've had my eye on one guy all off season, and he's the last guy listed. But I would have Kyle Pecco, however you say his name.
Kyle Pecco.
Naquan Jones, and then Jaden Peavy is the guy that I've had my eye on all offseason.
I agree with that. I'm not too sure about what did you say, Pecco?
Yeah, Kyle. Yeah.
I'm not too sure about him if he's going to make it, but I do agree with the other 4 wholeheartedly.
Okay, so I guess I'm gonna be the bearer of bad news here.
Devil's advocate.
Yeah, you guys are gonna make me do this, huh?
Yeah.
So on my defensive line, I have us keeping 6. Of course, Jeffrey Simmons, Danico, and Tier. Like that's an easy right nose and 2 ends, or however. We don't really have like legitimate ends, like 3-4 defensive ends. They just kind of all go do what they want to do.
Yep.
Because they're Tier Tart. Yeah, like Tier Tart's probably the only legit the guy you can say is a legitimate nose tackle, but he just does what he wants. He just moves them in. The 3 other guys outside of those 3, Jaden Peavy, when you get the love and the respect from Terrell Williams, you deserve a roster spot.
Yeah.
Mike Vrabel respects that guy, loves that guy, and he respects him. He respected him enough to let him head coach the team in a game, right? Whether you feel like it mattered or not. You don't get there. There was 31 other teams could have done it. 31 other teams didn't.
I thought that was the coolest move, man.
It matters. I heard it mentioned in a college football broadcast Saturday.
It matters.
Somebody mentioned the Titans doing that, so it matters.
And then I have Michael Dwan 4, and Kyle
I could agree
Picco.
with that. I could agree with that. Dwumfour really did. He came on in the preseason.
And the reason I have those last two guys is because they showed up coming in a week later. Like they came in after Chicago.
Yep.
They cut a couple of guys and brought those two guys in, and they've done nothing but been disruptive. Like whether you care for it or not, they've been disruptive. Naquan, to me, there's two guys that you're not gonna hear. You're gonna be like, what? And Naquan Jones is Naquan Jones is just one of those guys, and it's because to me, absence in preseason it can hurt you, and this is one of those cases. You're seeing the defense that did not play our last preseason game against New England, gave up I think under 30 yards passing, and literally lived in the backfield. Like our defensive line lived in the backfield. Jaden Peavy was one of those guys. Kind of wish he could have got the scoop and score. And of course, Danico was disruptive. Tier, of course, was disruptive. But Dwumfour just lived in their backfield. Pecco lived in their backfield, right? Naquan Jones, I think they saw that, hey, Tierra's going to get a payday. Naquan, we're not missing anything with Naquan, right? Like we still kind of tick without him. I hate to be that guy. Love number 90. I just think that Dwumfour and Pecco can do the same things, and they're cheaper.
I was going to say, honestly, when you mentioned it, I wouldn't be upset to trade Naquan Jones for Dwumfour. I mean, he showed a lot, especially in that last game. I mean, he splashed, I think, 3 or 4 plays in that last game. He was disruptive as all get out.
And splashed against Minnesota as well. So, like, it's just another odd man out situation. Like, and it sucks, man, because it's like you wish you could pick all of it. You wish you could keep a bunch of guys, right? But you can't.
Yep. And with that, we move on to edge, which is, again, another easy one because you got Harold Landry, Arden Key, Rashad Weaver, and as far as I'm concerned, another lock, Caleb Murphy.
Boom.
Should be. I mean,
thank you.
Me and Tyler literally went into Friday's game and we were like, what do you want? Now I even said I want Caleb Murphy to keep his streak alive. I want to see him get at least 1 sack.
Led the preseason in sacks, led the preseason in quarterback hits, led the preseason in tackles for a loss. That says leaps and bounds, has not had a sack each game in the preseason. This is a guy out of Ferris State who was unheralded. Not unheralded. I shouldn't even say that. That's a disrespect to him. Led the country in sacks. Let me say that again. Led the country, not FBS, not FCS, not Division 2A, not just his division or conference. Led the country,
the whole nation,
in sacks. The entire nation, over 500 institutes that have active football teams. He led everyone. That says something. This guy came in, and they've loved him ever since they brought him in. Terrell Williams has had glowing things to say about him. Mike Vrabel has had glowing things to say about him. He's a workhorse. He's a Vrabel guy. He does all the little things, right? Sets the edge. If he's not in the play, he's still chasing down the backside. He should definitely make this roster as an edge rusher. And I agree with you. Harold Landry, of course, is a lock. He's making $15 million a year. They're not cutting that guy. Arden Key was a lock as soon as he pulled up and was playing reggaeton in the parking garage. So they're going to keep him more. Yeah, they're going to keep him around just simply because of the energy. Rashad Weaver to me was a lock since they went another guy, 4th round draft pick, should have been a 1st round draft pick. Thank God he fell to us because of off the field stuff. And now he's a model citizen and playing, for the Titans. And then Caleb Murphy. I think you can't go wrong with that. And if one of these guys, let's just say Caleb Murphy, develops, you could have a guy who's, I think, 22, 23, and then a guy who's just now turning 27, and Harold Landry, right? rushing the passer for the next 7 to 8 years.
Yep.
Like, we haven't had consistent edge rushers since ever, right? Since I would say Brian Arakpo and Derek Morgan. That was the last time we had like a consistent like 4 to 6 year run. So yeah, I like those guys.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it.
I've heard a lot of back and forth on Caleb Murphy, man, and I just want to put it out there. If we cut that man, he is going to sign with the Colts, the Jaguars, or the Texans, and is going to come back to bite us for the next 10 to 15 years of him being one of the best outside linebackers in the NFL. Like y'all said, the man had 26.5 sacks last year, 40.5 over the last 2 years. He had like 43 tackles for loss. He had more tackles for loss than most linebackers get tackles in an entire season in college football. Division II or not. Look at all the Division II players that have went on to the NFL and dominated. Let's scratch the Division II talk. This man is an NFL player now, and he's dominating the preseason against NFL linemen. Backups or not, he's dominating. He's not just doing okay. He's doing great. So if he can get 3 or 4 sacks his rookie season, that's a win. Why would you not want that in a backup linebacker instead of a guy like Sam O, I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name, who has no real upside. We know what he can do. He doesn't have the upside that Caleb Murphy does. Why would we do that whenever those are the two options that we have at outside linebacker for that fourth spot?
And just to be clear, the one thing that I like about Caleb Murphy that I saw is he has a secondary option. Like, he has a secondary move, right? Like, you don't just stop him. I see a lot of rookie pass rushers that come from like the SEC, the Pac-12, Big Ten, right? They come into the league and they're like, bull rush one in college, bull rush a win here, right? It's the same thing you see with a guy who was the number 3 overall pick this year, and Will Anderson, right? Like, oh, bull rush one, like bull rush one again, right? No, it doesn't work like that. These are smart tackles. They know what a bull rush looks like. They know how to stop it, right? Sit down and put my weight on you, and you have to move me, right? Well, Caleb Murphy was like, bull rush one the first time. Let me set up the bull rush and then also swipe your hands away. And now you're that way, and I have an open lane to your quarterback, right? Or let me hit a spin move. Oh, instead of hitting a spin move this time, I'm going to fake the spin and dip up under you. That's also coaching, right? That's also Mike Vrabel. And these are amazing position coaches, and a lot of people forget that Bruce Bowen was the linebackers coach before he was defensive coordinator. So this is his specialty, right? That's coaching as well. But Caleb Murphy he looks like a guy who's been in the league for 4 years already.
It's also being coachable, though. That's my biggest thing with Caleb Murphy is how coachable he is and how he's willing to learn and wants to learn. Just like the instance of him going to Jeffrey Simmons after a practice and asking him what about a specific rep. You don't really hear that from rookies too much. So for him to do that really showed me a lot, and it showed me that he's willing to learn and wants to learn and be better. And that's a guy that I want. That is a Titan ambassador that I talk about. That's who we need. Please don't cut Caleb Murphy, Titans. I would be so hurt.
Please.
Brian, I think they can change their numbers, but I doubt we're going to see Caleb Murphy wearing number 12 for Tennessee.
Yeah, I don't think so. So
that's the number he wore at Ferris State, by the way.
We are going to have to kind of move through these next 3 a little quickly because I have to be on another podcast for the AFC South Fan Battle podcast.
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. But linebacker, for me, it's Azeez Al-Shaair, Jack Gibbons, Chance Campbell, Ben Neiman, then Monty Rice. But that's just for me. Again, I'm not trying to lay out depth chart. I'm just saying I did do it in that order for a reason, but I'm not trying to lay out depth chart. I'm just saying, I don't know what I'm saying. I guess I'm just upset with Monty Rice.
Knowing some things that I know, that I can't say.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all right. I
don't have Monty Rice making this roster, and it's It's sad because I had high hopes for him. But it's Azeez Al-Shaair for me, Jack Gibbons. I think those are the two starters. Chance Campbell, Ben Neiman, and Luke Gifford. And I think Ben Neiman had the highest tackle percentage last year in the league. He was the most sure tackler in the NFL. That says a lot. Whether you like it or not, like you need guys who can wrap up a guy, and he's not going anywhere. Chance Campbell is a good coverage linebacker, and it's kind of funny. You see Jack Campbell and Jack Gibbons standing next to each other with their helmets on. If they didn't have numbers on, they're almost identical, like body type, and it's not because they're white. I promise. Like they're almost identical. Like it's like which one is which, right? So like, but they're both similar in build and athleticism. They're both smart, instinctual linebackers. I like what they have. And then Luke Gifford was literally brought in because he was a special teams ace in Dallas. So we need that because Hassan Haskins doesn't make this roster, in my opinion. You need to replace that. So I got us keeping 5 inside linebackers. 4 to be rotational guys, right? Luke Gifford is a special team.
Special team, yeah.
I mean, well, Brian, I got it covered on the back end, I promise.
I was going to say, it depends on where your flex is. Like I said, it depends on how you set up your roster. I set up mine a little weird too, but do you have anything to add to that, Tyler?
I hope we trade for a linebacker or sign one that gets cut. That's all I'm going to say. I don't like it.
You don't trust Dr. Gibbons? You don't trust Dr.
I
Gibbons?
trust Azeez Al-Shaair. Everybody else I have no trust in whatsoever.
That guy's a stud, by the
way. Yeah. All right, so on to cornerback, we've got Christian Fulton, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Roger McCreary. Those are set in stone. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure Trey Avery set in stone too.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
And to be honest, my other one, the only other one that I put on the roster is Eric Garrard, and I'm pretty sure he's set in stone as well.
Why are you guys doing this to me tonight, guys?
I think so. That's my 5 too, right there. Yeah.
So I got us keeping 6, and I have an asterisk by one of them. Technically 7, but I have an asterisk. But so I got Christian Fulton, Sean Murphy-Bunting, and Roger McCreary. I agree with that. Those are the 3 locks. Trey Avery, wowed again, averaged to 76.3 PFF grade, which if you like PFF or not, I don't know. Some people don't like it, some people do. I think that means something. Brian, you beat me to it. Eric Garrard, I think makes this roster. I think Caleb Farley makes the roster just because of the money that you're going to owe him if you cut him. And you don't want that. But again, if Caleb starts on the IR or the PUP list, Anthony Kendall, another undrafted free agent who is a long, rangy corner. I like how he played against Minnesota. I like how he played in against New England, right? Just a guy who knows how to play position and stick his hand in there to get the ball out. Love to hit. He's a guy that I think could make this roster or be called up from the practice squad if Caleb starts on the PUP list or on the injured reserve. I'm sorry. So I got to keep in 6 corners.
Tyler, anything you want to add to that, brother?
Nope, I agree with yours. I mean, I see it as I see 5, maybe 6. You could be right, Courtlandt, but I mean, we agree on the first 5 anyway. So those first 5, I think, are there. Those are the 5. Well, really, we've seen Trey Avery and Garrard all preseason making plays. Trey Avery got beat a couple times, but that's what happens when you're young in the NFL. So as long as he can learn,
very aggressive. He's a very aggressive corner too.
I was going to say both the times he was beat, he was being aggressive, and I would rather you be aggressive and get beat than be playing off like Jack Rabbit,
15 yards off the ball,
and just let people throw underneath.
Yeah,
so,
every time. It didn't help anything. All right.
To move on, safety, Kevin Byard, Amani Hooker, Elijah Molden, I think are cemented in. The 2 I have after that, I guess, are questionable, and that's Mike Brown and Shaheem Carter.
I can't believe you guys are making me beat this guy tonight. I'm gonna let Tyler go ahead and tell you got, man.
I mean, I kind of agree with that, but I also agree with Brian down here. If we can get Crookshank, then I would love to have him back as a depth guy because I think he outshines any depth guy that we have. Let's just hope and pray our safeties don't get hurt. That's all I can really say about that because we're in bad shape behind them.
Yeah, Josh Kalu, I think, became available today too.
I'd rather have Crookshank. The only reason Kalu got brought back is because Dan Crookshank was signed by the Bears. But if the Jets do let him go, Brian, I completely agree with you. I'd love to see Dan Crookshank back in Nashville.
Yes.
But he's the only guy, in my opinion, that knocks my fourth guy off of the roster. I got to keep him 4 safeties. KB, of course, Amani, the top five safety duo. Elijah gives us some versatility at corner. So this roster could look completely different because he gives you corner and safety depth. Versatility. But I got Amani Marsh, another guy who's a safety corner convert.
I like Amani Marsh.
Another undrafted free agent that I love. I don't know why I love him. I just know that I love him. Like, pause. Like, it's the guy's just amazing. like they matched him up, right, against, like, the one bad tape that I've seen, right, is that they matched him up against the best wide receiver in the league right now, and
Justin
Jefferson. He got cooked. What corner doesn't he cook, right? Like, he's the best in the league for a reason. But Amani Marsh is just Kevin Byard. When Kevin Byard gives you an endorsement, that says something.
Yeah.
And I think Mike Vrabel and his front office respect Kevin Byard enough to take his word into consideration. Definitely will make a roster cuts and things of that nature. I think Marsh comes in and plays well. He's played well for us. And the good thing is you need bodies because you need special teams help.
Yes.
And
he seems like a good special teams kind of guy. He's all over the field, all over the ball, every play. Yep. You see him around the ball. So I did like that about him.
And with our health concerns, and just not to be a bearer of bad news, like Christian Fulton has had injury concerns. Hopefully he stays healthy all year, right? Knock on wood, he stays healthy. Not Eric Garrard, but Caleb Farley, is another guy that just doesn't stay healthy. Trey Avery has dealt with some injuries in the past. So it's good to have a guy like Elijah Molden and then Amani Marsh that can play the cornerback position as well as safety, because then you don't have to go and sign guys off the street, right? You can just kind of replace bodies on special teams. You can sign guys other places rather than having to go sign some guy off the street who doesn't know your defensive scheme and now has to come in and try to play corner against the Bills and try to, so we have to get away from doing that. And that's how teams have been consistent, like the 49ers and others. They have guys who are versatile, who can move into different positions. When somebody gets hurt, they just move that guy there. And then they may sign somebody from the practice squad. But the Titans have to do better with getting versatility and guys on this roster that can be amoebas and move up and down the depth chart.
Yep.
So real quick, and then we got to wrap it up. But special teams, pretty easy. Again, Ryan Stonehouse is our punter. Morgan Cox is our long snapper. We don't have a kicker.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
They made me look so bad. I was like, yeah.
Oh, dude, are you kidding? My first roster prediction, I had Trey Wolf, and I look like a big idiot now. I've been touting him all offseason.
So just if you guys haven't gone to the 3-point conversion and read my roster prediction, which you should, it's really good. The guy who wrote it, I know that guy personally. He's really cool. But this was my quote, right, on Michael Badgley. I said to Michael Badgley after cutting Trey Wolf and Caleb Shadak after week 2 of the preseason. Badgley hasn't had the best showing, but it's the only kicker on the roster as of right now. The Titans can still look to add a more consistent option prior to week 1 against the New Orleans Saints. I literally had him making the roster and thought maybe they cut him Thursday practice, right, and bring somebody in. I did not think they were going to roster, just completely cut him right before, as a roster cut. I've heard people saying, can Ryan Stonehouse kick field goals?
No.
If they're from the opposite 20, maybe.
If he could, I'm telling y'all, you would never hear me stop. You would never hear me stop, ever. I would never shut up.
If the NFL allowed the drop kick,
oh my goodness.
maybe still, right? Maybe. But I can't remember if his name is Havlicek or whatever. The Colts have a rookie that they just cut. He's really good. I know people saying Mason Crosby. No. With a name like Mason Crossbar, I kind of want to dodge the guys that have missed kicks in the past.
Yeah, I don't want another
years
bullet,
have been very shaky.
The Saints also have a guy that I've heard could get cut, who's a rookie, who's been really, really good, really solid.
It's either Will Lutz or Blake Group or Group A, however you say his name.
I would love to have the Colts rookie kicker that got cut or the Saints guy that could get cut. I would rather have one of those two guys. Get Ryan, get Brett Kern, Ryan Suckup 2.0, right? Or Kurt Heinrich, Rob Baronis 2.0, right? Go and get that because we need a consistent kicker. That's the one thing that kind of bit us in the butt last year, which was we would get into games where they were close and we just made 2 field goals or made a field goal.
Yeah,
you're now talking about a 1 point, 2 point, maybe a field goal win versus you lost by 3 points. So we got to have a kicker.
Not only that, but I was talking to Max about it before the show. Kind of the same thing. We got Stonehouse, our punter for the next 15 years. He's good. He's great. He's locked in. Let's get a kicker who's 22, 23 years old who can be that solid kicker for us for 15 years. Let's stop with all this 38, 40-year-old kicker stuff and go get a 22, 23-year-old who's going to kick field goals for us and be good for the next 15 years. And let's stop worrying. And let's get a special teams coach who can actually coach football, who's not just throwing guys out there and hoping it works.
Our special teams coach is really good. I like our special teams coach. I think he just hasn't had the personnel
talent
because when he had Dane Cruikshank and Brett Kern and those guys, we looked amazing.
If I had Brett Kern, I'm going to look amazing.
So, I like him. If you talk to him, right, he's a really cool guy. I think he knows his X's and O's. He's one of the guys that was an advocate for getting Ryan Stonehouse a title and shit like that.
So I'll give him that. I'll give him that.
So hopefully, like I said, hopefully we get a young kicker and not, And also, I think Rigoberto, or no, not Rigoberto. What's his name? Blankenship?
No.
Oh, he's out there too. But
look, man, I'm a Georgia fan. If I'm saying no on any Georgia player, that means no.
No,
I just know that that's a guy who's been kind of floating around the rumor mill.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I'm good on that.
Exactly.
Anyway, thank you guys. I'm sorry I have to wrap up, but like I said, I got another show to do, and I'd like to take a small break.
Busy
before
man,
I do. Not that bad. So go ahead and let them know where they can find you at, Courtlandt.
Oh man, you can find me at the C Griffy, TheCGriffy on Instagram and on Twitter. You can find my articles on the Titans, NFL, WNBA, NBA, MLB, right on number three, conversion.com. If you want to see my practice squad picks, which are pretty interesting, by the way, you can check out my roster predictions, my roster prediction article, which is also posted to my Twitter as well. I got some pretty good guys on there. If you guys want to see who my depth picks are, we didn't get to that tonight, but I appreciate you guys for having me on the show again. I kind of feel like special, when I come on here.
Man, we love having you on. You're kind of becoming a regular around here.
Hey, I like it.
Yeah, right on, man.
I don't think any of the other fan battles have a insider from the team on their show.
Absolutely not. No. And by the way, what are you doing next Monday?
Nothing. So
hey, you're here.
I will be here as many times as you guys need me to be.
That is music to my ears. Tyler, go ahead and let them know where they find you at, brother.
At Titan_always22. You just heard us talking about the specialists. It's the Ryan Stonehouse Stan account, the one and only. Better be the one and only. Show love to the specialist. Can't wait to get a new kicker so we can show love to him too. Find my blog on Titans blog at fanbattlesports.com. Find us anywhere, any social network, anywhere you get your podcasts, Titans Fan Battle Podcast. Search it. It's coming up. We're the only one. Find us. Like us, follow us, subscribe, especially on YouTube. Love y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. And thank you, Courtlandt, for coming on again. We appreciate you, bro.
Also,
it's
check
really
out
fun
that blog.
time.
It is really good, if I do say so myself. It is a really good blog. I enjoy reading it.
That.
So and I don't like to read because I write a lot. So.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. And you guys know where you can find me, Maximus_Titan_fan, basically anywhere you get on social media. And of course, part of the Titan Fan Battle podcast pages as well. Yep. Here we go, guys. Another edition of Titans Fan Battle podcast in the books. We appreciate you guys showing up. Please like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Thank you, and good night.
Yes, sir.